I'm forgetting that term which is used. So yes, sir. So this was the introduction of why we need it, and I'll straight away go to the concept of my design, what I have done. There were two designs before this, and this is in the paper I have done the final design, which I have included in the paper, and this is the concept. So, sir, uh, toe. Toe is basically the amount of vehicle. Toe is a wheel alignment term. And if you could see my gestures, that suppose these are the wheels, these are rolling wheels, and these this is the straight face of the wheel. So when the whole body is when the both the wheels toe in or toe out, this is a misalignment in commercial wheels, which we generally go to a mechanic and say that the wheel is misaligned. So what he does is take one thread from front tire to end tire and check that all the surfaces of the tire are matching the thread tangentially, and will this is the basic check for toe. So toe is generally a misalignment. What I have done is use this misalignment and put it to our own use for producing steering effects. Yes, sir. So wait a second. I have actually dealt in PDF, so this is a bit difficult for me to handle. Huh. So, sir, yes, sir, I'll open the PDF. It would be better. Uh, huh. This I can handle easily. Yes, sir. So, sir, the the concept of here, the concept main concept which I am talking about is the what I think has not been yet discovered or not has been used earlier in. So, concept was originated from a need. The need was to generate toe. So this toe was generated with wheel travel. So concept of treating angle as a vector quantity. So, sir, which angle I am talking about? The angle here is this this angle. Suppose this is the this is one sir, this travel of angle beta naught. Okay, sir, let me show it through a animation so that you can get what I am trying to say. This visual clue and this roll. Sir, can you see this tires moving up and down? Okay, a bit. So now is it visible? The Yes, sir. I am again and again repeating that same loop so that this movement I am talking about. This movement generally occurs when body takes a turn. That is, suppose this left wheel is going down. That means the chest, the whole body, this body, the in which the driver is sitting, the chassis is rolling towards right. Then this left tire will go down as shown as like this. It will go down, and the right tire will go up because the chassis is rolling because of the centrifugal forces. Yes, sir. So this movement is being utilized to generate angle in another direction. So this is the traverse which I am talking about, this beta. Beta is the angle along the axis of rotation of this H arm. H arm is the sir trailing is the arm which is H arm geometry is basically a this type of geometry which is used in vehicles. Generally, this H arm is the connection of linkages, two links with a revolute pair and joined. These two links are rigidly fixed by a member, so completely this becomes one link. And this H arm is generally planar. That is, all four revolute pairs, all four turning pairs are in same plane. And this characteristic feature of H arm I have exploited and made all these 4 points in different planes. Yes, sir, like this. If this is one of the axes, then these 2 points are in different plane. This angle I am talking about, sir. This is the front view, and this is the rear view or the side view, we can say. So, sir, this was the introduction to the this geometry we have already been used in the previous car. So I have just modified it and made this arm like this. And this is we can say the front view here. No, sir. Sir, in the e-Baha, we used this planar HM concept. This is one of the screenshots of e-Baha design. These all or these four, this and this one and this. These four turning pairs are in same plane, and the axis passing through the inner turning pairs is inboard axis, that is this turning pair and this, and these two turning pairs, the axis which is passing through them is the outboard axis. I have defined it in this way so that it would be a bit clear for the next thing which I am going to present. So these are the axes. So these axes are making an angle alpha, that is inboard axis 1 and outboard axis 2. These axes are making an angle alpha among themselves. This is static angle. This alpha is defined. This does not change in any point because this is a structural member which is rigid, which is assumed to be rigid. And so, sir, next is the concept. If I could just read it, it would be better to understand. So, beta is the static inclination of H arm with respect to ground level. Beta naught. This beta naught is I am talking about, sir. This is mm, so here will be the tire. This is we are viewing the car from behind. So the tire will be of square shape or rectangular shape from behind, and this is the travel. We are analyzing the right side of the H arm. So how do I put it, sir? If you are a bit confused, so I can just replay that GIF. This I'm talking about this right side, sir. Rear viewing from the back and the right arm. Here the highlighted arm is left one, which is highlighted in blue, but analysis has been done with respect to right, like this, sir. This right one I am talking about. This movement is this angle traversing is beta, which I have defined. Let me show it once again. Yes, so this down to up movement, I have defined it as beta. So can you see a little bit of toe generation, that is steering of rear wheels, a little bit? Yes, yes, sir. See this. the right tire, when it is lifted up, the right tire turns towards a bit of right side. So this property I have used. So the next question was, sir, that by how can I physically interpret that how much tow is generated and how much turning of the wheel is required, and also how can I obtain that much amount of turning? So uh, the sign conventions of rotation as per right hand thumb rule, vector rotation beta. So sir, this point which is here, the red angle which I have shown, this this line of traverse is the whole angle beta, and what I have done is taken component of that beta along the inboard axis, because inboard axis is not straight, it has been given some angle alpha. So this relative angle alpha will generate two components of the beta, like this, sir. Sir, this is the alpha angle which I have shown, and the beta, sir, beta is an angle, and we have taken it as an vector quantity. So beta is along the direction of beta is along the inboard axis, and the magnitude of beta is uh, is is seen from this view. This is the beta, the red line, the red light signifies the red angle signifies how is beta incorporated, and the specific beta angle direction is this along the inboard axis, which is alpha. This is the inboard axis, this black axis which I am talking, axis 1, which is inboard. So the direction of beta is along this axis, and the magnitude of beta is an this view we can see the magnitude. So resolving beta in two components, that is in horizontal axis and in vertical axis. So horizontal component of beta, that is beta cos alpha, because alpha is the relative angle of inboard axis. So beta cos alpha will generate the uh, movement of tire. If you could show, if I could show you on my video. So this is the arm, and this is the beta. So beta cos alpha has been seen from rear view, or we can say when we look the vehicle from behind and the right tire is lifted up, this this is the beta cos alpha which we could see. Beta sin alpha we could not see, because it's in because this axis has been resolved in two components. So beta cos alpha has this direction, that is inside the plane of paper, and beta sin alpha is in the upward directions. So this beta component will generate tau, the sine component of beta, which I am talking about in the PDF. Yes, sir, in the PDF we can see. This was the front view. Beta cos alpha has been visualized, that how beta cos alpha is there, and beta sin alpha is the key. This is the key which shows that when, so sir, these dotted lines I have represented the initial position of outboard axis. This dotted rectangle, as you can see, this was the initial. Okay, so I have projected its length L. L is the length of the H arm, which is shown here, and I have projected it and superposed beta sin alpha, component of beta sin alpha, sir. This arrow, this angle is component of beta, which is beta sin alpha. This angle gives the toe out, that how much the right wheel is turning outwards. So this will, by superimposing these two, we could get the actual position, that where the tire is and how much angle is being generated. This and this angle, these two triangles are similar, so we can say that the same angle has been turned. So sir, this is the actual representation, that how it has been done. So sir, toe out. Toe out is basically the we are talking about a particular wheel. So in that term, right wheel is going upwards, so it is toe out, and for the left wheel it is toe in, which is desired for four wheel steering. So this type of steering is known as, sir, negative four wheel steering. Oh, sorry, positive. Negative is this one, which is used for uh, which is used for which is used in race cars for achieving high speed stable overtaking, when we need to overtake, but we could not steer the vehicle more, because if we steer more we would take a turn. We do not require a turn, we need a overtake. So this type of negative four wheel steering, what it does is increases the turning radius, it increases the turning radius. And this negative four wheel steering, which I have used, this angle, as you can see, delta OR, that delta outer, is the toe out, which I have generated through through wheel travel. So this reduces the turning radius. So here I was, the wheel has been toe out, and similarly left wheel has been toe in, because uh, beta for left wheel, if we define beta for left wheel, the left wheel is going down in the animation. If the right wheel is going up, then the left wheel has to go down, because because of the restraints that we have put. Sir, can you see this? Sir, the right wheel is going up and the left wheel is going down. So, so beta for right wheel, if we have defined it as positive, then the beta for left wheel will automatically become negative, and negative of beta of sine alpha will give the turning in the opposite direction, which is desired. So both the wheels will turn by the same amount if the beta is same. This was the basic concept. So the key what which I have found is that the need of four wheel steering turned out to be a generation of a concept where angle is treated as a vector quantity and components of it has been taken in order to generate steering effect, which I find is somehow unique, and I have not seen such analysis or such or any application of it in general terms, in general mechanisms. So this is the rear view, that how the body will roll. This is the rear view, and this was the front top view. In the top view we could see that the tire is turned by this much amount, toe out, and this toe out is same as beta sine alpha. Then sir, to simulate this, I have used the hard points of from the hard points of SolidWorks into a suspension analysis software, where we could generate these graphs. This is the toe angle graph, that is, if the bump is there, the toe is negative, and if the droop is there, the toe is positive. This is not for right wheel, this is I think for left wheel, uh, which is in opposite to our. So I think I should have changed that. And yes sir, these graphs were generated, and this was the overall result when I simulated this. I think I could show the simulation. This is with respect to the this design. Sir, can you see this animation? So this is Lotus suspension software which I have used. I have imported the hard points and simulated and generated graphs for other purposes. For we can find out. So yes, sir. This design was successful until this occurred. This is not is what desired. I will show it in the PDF that what happens when both the wheels simultaneously go up or simultaneously go down. We were happy with the case that one wheel is going up, the right wheel is going up, and the left wheel is going down. The right wheel is steered towards outside, toe out, and the left wheel was steered towards inside, toe in. So we were happy with this design, this concept, and this simulation. But generally, this does not occur in real life. That the vehicle is not taking any bump or droop; it is just turning. This was the case for if the roads were flat without any speed breakers, we do not require any braking or acceleration, then this case would have been sufficed. But the next design, what I did is to improve this fault. This is the major fault, sir. The problem statement I have written. Yes, sir. This challenges. So, sir, one of the challenges was slip-free steer. The one of the challenges in four-wheel steering is to get the turning radius, to obtain the a single point turning radius. Like in this diagram, the turning radius is being obtained by drawing a normal to the tire plane. The tire plane normal to the tire plane. All the tire plane normals should intersect at one point O, and this if this happens, which is generally not the case with four-wheel steering, and we have seen that Ackerman and non-Ackerman steerings are designed in such a way that the front wheels normal uh, intersect at a single point, but in four-wheel steering it is a bit more challenging. So for this I have no resolution that the steering will be without any skid. Tire wear will occur, of course, because in my design none of the normals were intersecting on a single point, they were going abstract. So this was the issue. Slip free steer was the issue, and next was straight line stability. So, sir, when both the wheels go up, as we see in the right wheel went up, the tire went outwards, toe out occurred in the right tire, and the left wheel went down, and toe in was obtained in the left wheel. So, these two combinations in diagonal were very good, were beneficial for us, but these two combinations uh, these two diagonal combinations were also beneficial, but this is a bit odd if we could say that straight line stability is been hampered by this design, because this design was not able to overcome straight line stability. This was main issue, as you can see in this diagram. If both the tires go up, then in the bump, that is relatively they are going up from the chassis, then both the tires will go outwards, and if both the tires go down relative to the chassis, they would turn inwards. This is a problem statement. So after uh, being uh, after a huge amount of brainstorming and consultations with my seniors, and what should I do to overcome this, I have been working on this, and this was the main thing which I did. This was integration of trailing arm suspension with H arm frame. So H arm suspension is basic, which is this design, and trailing arm suspensions are those which we use in bikes, that one frame is there and it trails up and down. So trailing arm suspension was integrated with H arm suspension, and this was the main turning event in the research, that uh, So if I could just read the problem statement, till now we have been able to obtain four-wheel steering or roll steer of four-wheel steering. We would have to give up on straight line stability, but is there a way out of it? So this was the problem which I have explained. And if we integrate the geometry with our previous non-planar H-arm frame geometry, the resultant will serve the functionalities of both theoretically and solves the problem. In trailing arm suspension, sir, what happens is, uh, suppose this is the trailing arm. We have mounted the H arm on the trailing arm. These two frames, these two lines, the axis which I was talking about, inboard axis, if that axis was to be trailed along a member, so how should I put it? So, sir, basic thing was here that both tires were going up, and they were going up relative to the chassis. So what I did is shifted that whole primary assembly of the suspension and made it traverse around the chassis in such a way that when both the tires are being lifted, suppose if there is a speed breaker and both the tires are getting the force to get upwards, the whole suspension assembly would go up, like in this animation. Let me show you. Uh, Sir, can you see this animation? This is what I'm sir talking about. When both the wheels are so these this is a basic four bar mechanism. These are four turning pairs, and and a projection of it is taken on the other side. They have been connected, and so this is the case, sir. When both of the tire would get a force equal enough so that the upward force is being experienced by both of the tires, then this whole suspension assembly would move in such a way that none of the tires are relatively moved. They are moved along with each other, but not relatively. That is it. That is during this period, the tires would not go that one tire is going up and another is going down. This will not happen in this case. So yes, sir, this is the final design which I am showing here. And to incorporate it, the major issue was that I have thought of this design, but how to incorporate it was a bit difficult. First of all, sir, we used gearbox in the Baha vehicle, so I had to replace that gearbox with a chain sprocket, as chain sprocket is commonly complied with trailing arm suspension, because say, if we compare it to a bike, then bike tires are mounted on trailing arm suspension, and the sprocket is connected via chain, and chain sprocket is used. Also gearbox is there in the bike, but it is not the final drive is through chain sprocket. So the integration of this trailing arm suspension with the previously existing non-planar H-arm frame, which we used to obtain four-wheel steering, this integration made this design a feasible design for uh, vehicles to be used. I know, sir, it seems a bit complex. It is a very complex design. Yes, sir. Yeah. is very less. Yes, sir. So, if we go through the design aspects of this design, the structural rigidity and analysis part, then I would say that this is a very bad design because this design has not have been thought of as being used in, because also we are not using because it is not feasible for now. But the my intention here was to give a concept and to make a design which is which may be not reliable, which may just withstand a few cycles of operation, but the main objective of the main intention was that this design could be made if a team of design engineers are hired and they could work upon this concept, they could build up and on this concept, then even we could design such a vehicle which could be manufactured physically in this way. So the compatibility of the design I was talking about in the PDF. And so, sir, we have seen that trailing arm in bike have a H shame is complied with the chain sprocket. And the key point is in trailing arm suspension, which gives us space to the rear wheel in case of bikes to travel up and down, retaining the camber and toe conditions. That is, in the trailing arm suspension, the rear wheel of the bike is rigidly fixed. That is, it cannot steer in any way because we need that. Steering of rear wheel is not desired as per now in the rear in the bike of the rear wheel of the bike. So this is the major characteristics of trailing arm suspension. And if we integrate this geometry with our previous, so this theoretically solves the problem. How to implement this? I have installed suspension system. Okay, okay. This is the description of the design that a BLDC motor, motor controller, converter, lithium-ion battery. That is the same powertrain of electric vehicle has been used. We can use any type of powertrain, even a basic powertrain which is commercially used of IC engine would be complied with this design. And motor is rigidly mounted on chassis with a sprocket. So this is the motor mounting. If you can see, the motor is being mounted on these members. So the motor is rigidly fixed and the chain sprocket is the outer sprocket has been attached to the trailing arm. This sprocket controls the movement of CV joints, that is the shaft, CV shaft. And the drivetrain part of it has been designed by Satvik Sharma. He was my colleague and a member of suspension of drivetrain in the e-Bahar team. And yes, sir, this was it. Similar trailing arm is complied offset. The true trailing arms here are number of trailing arms are two. This is the lower trailing arm and this is the upper trailing arm. So upper trailing arm supports the bell crank, and this bell crank has been rested on uh, a prismatic shaft, which I will show you in the next line. Similar trailing via coupler. Okay. So this bell crank movement was prismatic, as we could see. We could not use a static bell crank because the whole assembly was dynamic and it was not a rigid assembly. So H arms are mounted on base trailing arm and the push rod. These are the push rods, sir. This is the push rod, which I'm sir, this member. The upper link. This is the lower H arm. This is the shaft, and this is the push rod. The push rod is rigidly attached to the bell crank. Bell crank has been mounted on a shaft using a ball and socket joint, and this is the another push rod. So bell crank is held by a shaft through a ball and socket joint, and shaft itself can translate along the upper trailing arm, supported by a prismatic bearing. So prismatic bearing, don't think, sir, is any existing type of bearing which is there. A Trunion bearing, I have heard of Trunion bearing, which gives prismatic pair, generates prismatic pair, but it is difficult in, matlab, it was not compatible with design because a huge amount of friction was there. And I have designed just a simple bearing here, not a sim matlab, it is a bit odd bearing. I have never seen this, but this was the requirement of that time. So I quickly came up with a component that how to just resolve this issue of sliding the rod throughout. So this is the outer case of bearing. These are the bearing balls which are contained inside, and this shaft translates. So the movement of balls is not in, matlab, these balls will be static in their position, and the rotation of them would occur with the translation of shaft. In this animation, if you could see, the shaft is continuously translating whenever a bump or droop occurs. Like this, sir. This shaft is going inside and then it is coming outside. So this was the requirement of that time. So is it visible, sir? Yes, sir. So, sir, this was the case here, ball and socket joint, because also the angle made by the shaft is continuously changing. So we cannot rigidly mount the bell crank on the shaft. So this was it, sir. This was the uh, prismatic bearing concept. I don't think, sir, it is commercially available, or it is being not, it is not being used till now. This is just a random component which I designed on my own, and yeah, sir, these small points which all add up to make this design impractical or not feasible practically. So yes, sir, this is the final design, the main isometric view, and the main this is the primary suspension, the primary strut, which is being mounted on the upper trailing arm and connected to the chassis. So whenever the bump would occur, this spring and this damper, this whole strut would collapse, and then energy is stored, and then it regains its shape. That is, it expands upon removal of bump forces, the upward forces. These are the views, different views, rendered images. This is this chain, and in the side view we can see I have removed one of the tires so that internal assembly is visible. And yeah, this is the top view of the tires. Initial tires, uh, initially in the static condition, I have designed it for the initial static condition. So initially, statically, the tires should not make any angle with respect to chassis. That is, the relative toe angle should be zero in the in normal operating conditions for straight line stability. And yes, sir. The last component which I added, because this design was getting out of hand, and it was not the degrees of freedom of this design were not constrained enough for me to operate it, because using a bell crank with H-arm suspension along with this trailing arm, these things are not conventional. So uh, to if I have thought so much and made this design, then even then I should be the one who needs to prove that this design is constrained enough for a to be used in a vehicle. So this anti-roll bar, anti-roll bars are, sir, those used in cars, in even used in commercial cars, race cars, for controlling the roll. Roll is this movement, so this movement of the vehicle, which I have defined, which we used earlier for generating tow and wheel travel. This roll movement is generated while taking a turn. So this roll movement could be avoided, could be reduced, minimized using an anti-roll bar. Anti-roll bar is a type of a torsion spring, we could say, which has a torsional rigidity and torsional stiffness in such a way then that if one tire is moving relative to another, like in the previous example, we have seen that right tire is going up and left tire is going down. So uh, the anti-roll bar, what it does is, when the right tire is going up and the left is going down, there is torsion generated in the anti-roll bar. That is, uh, it is being connected in such a way that if this tire goes down and this tire goes up, this central rod is under torsion. So the torsional stiffness of this rod would bring back the tires to their original position. It would not allow them to go in opposite directions. So this anti-roll bar is being used whenever we feel that roll stiffness, overall roll stiffness of the vehicle is going out of hand. That is, the roll stiffness is very less, and the vehicle is very sensitive towards centrifugal forces during while taking a turn. Suppose if we are sitting in a car and we are taking a turn, we feel that the centrifugal forces are, the forces could not be controlled. The forces generated are proportional to mass, the height of the center of gravity of the vehicle. That force we could not control, but the experience of the tire or the chassis roll could be controlled, because in case of huge trucks, a little amount of roll would produce damage to the internal loadings that have been there, or even cause discomfort to the passenger if the whole vehicle is going left and right during while taking a turn. This when this is not desired, then we use anti-roll bar. So anti-roll bar here functions two purposes. The first purpose is that make the roll stiff. The In the previous design, the roll stiffness was zero, because these two links are push rod. These are rigid links, and these two are again in turn of a four-bar mechanism. So four-bar mechanism is uh, generally not constrained enough. So roll stiffness was zero there. So roll stiffness has been added using this anti-roll bar in our design. And the second purpose and the main purpose is that push rod cannot fulfill the functions of camber link. Camber link is this link, sir. In the first design, this upper link, if you could see, this is the camber link, which controls the camber movement of the vehicle. So those push rods along with the bell crank, okay, wait, here, those push rods were not in were mounted on a bell crank, and that bell crank itself was dynamic. So if the push rods were rigid enough to hold the tire in a stable position, then this anti-roll bar would have been of no use for restraining the degrees of freedom. But by but in our case, due to the dynamic nature of bell crank and the push rods, a rigid link which holds both the tires along with each other is very necessary for our case. It holds the tire in the position and restrains the degrees of freedom. So this was the project. So I have done roll center analysis, that where the roll center would be located in my geometry, and roll center is that where the forces generated from the ground are transferred from tires to the rim to the chassis. So this is a virtual point where we could say that all the lateral forces while taking a turn would get a direction in towards this point. So yes, sir, this was the project. I have used. I have done uh, some other theories as well for this, that applications in negative four-wheel steering. If we would have reversed the angle alpha, that is for example, the, in our case the alpha was positive. What if that what if we have made that alpha angle negative? Then sine negative of alpha would get minus sine alpha, and minus sine alpha multiplied with beta would get minus sine beta. So the all the results would have been reversed, and this negative four-wheel steering, which is used in race cars, this could be obtained like this. So yes, sir, this was the project. हाँ सर. हाँ सर. um सर, जो कमर्शियल व्हीकल्स में भी जब कभी इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ था फोर व्हील स्टीयरिंग नॉर्मल व्हीकल्स में, तब मेन प्रॉब्लम यही थी, जैसे यही थी कि मतलब मेन प्रॉब्लम उनके साथ ये थी कि मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कॉस्ट ज़्यादा थी, जो भी था, उनको ओवरऑल बेनिफिट्स कम मिल रहे थे, मतलब उनकी जो सोल्ड है, मतलब ओवरऑल प्रोडक्शन जो उनका हो रहा था, बट उतना लोग उसको पसंद नहीं कर रहे थे, क्योंकि कन्वेंशनली दे हैव बीन टॉट टू ड्राइव टू व्हील स्टीयर्ड व्हीकल्स, so it does not get handy to drive such a four wheel steering vehicle. Also, for example, the railroads, we know that the rail track has been defined for a the distance between the track has been fixed, but that distance is not optimum. The design, what happened in the earlier times, the railroads were manufactured and laid down, but after so much production of railroads, the further analysis was done that this is not optimum, but we cannot change it now because it has been already laid down, the trains have been made, all the uh, labor and money and expenses has been done, so we are continuing with this. But this is similar is my design, it is towards the optimization of such things, that using passive steering. So four wheel steering could be obtained by two ways. One of the way was this that I explained. This was the passive steering, that we use uh, body roll and chassis movement for steering, but conventional four-wheel steering is designed similar to that of two-wheel steering, that a rack and pinion is used in front and similar rack and pinion is used behind. Both the pinions are coupled by a shaft, and this shaft could be turned using a single steering. So the driver, if he steers the vehicle, this the main shaft would turn and the wheels would turn appropriately. This was active mechanism of four-wheel steering, and this has been used in many cars. So till now existing cars have been using active four-wheel steering, which I have not done, which I have skipped. So this was the case. Sir, what I want is, sir, I have given a concept and given a foundation to which, if that's why, sir, it is a research project, not a patent. It could not be taken as a patent because it would get immediately rejected because of its impracticality and what we could say different aspects that I have already shown you in the previous one that some aspects are impractical. So that's why, sir, it is not a patent. I am giving it as a research topic. It is a research project. No, sir. This is the raw paper which I have shown you. I have not done, not even referenced some of the things, and it is referencing and terminologies which I have used. I need to define them in a separate column, and referencing is remaining acknowledgement and मतलब, uh, sir, not the research papers. I have referred the textbooks. Basically, I have the whole paper was written by me. I have not used any direct source from any of the books, but the knowledge that I already had before writing this paper was due to the books. The books were, sir, Race Car Vehicle Dynamics by Millikan, and Vehicle Dynamics by Reza and Jazar. That is the Spinger book, Spinger Publications, and a few more books are there. Hans Pajeka, Fundamentals of Vehicle Dynamics. So these were the books. So what I planned is to give references to these books. Also, these books have a list of reference papers, research papers at the back of the book. So I could use those references also in my paper to be included, that I have taken inspiration or say technical knowledge from those papers. So this was the plan of referencing, that how could I reference, because in the at the back end of the book there is a list of research papers, so it would be easier for me to access those research papers and directly give reference to those papers as